Usually when we picture a space that's completely dedicated to intense learning or working, there's this heavy expectation of total silence.
Right, like unbroken, absolute silence.
Exactly. I mean, you think of a classic university library, right? You've got the harsh fluorescent lights, the signs on the walls demanding quiet, the perfectly arranged wooden desks.
Yeah, it's a very structured environment.
Right. And the architecture itself is engineered entirely around removing every possible distraction so you can just focus on the one single task in front of you.
It's telling you to put your head down and work. There's really no ambiguity about what you're supposed to be doing there.
But then, you walk through the glass doors of a modern coffee shop on like a Tuesday afternoon, and that quiet, predictable library environment is just completely thrown out the window.
Oh, absolutely. It's the polar opposite.
You're hit with a literal wall of sound. There's an industrial espresso machine hissing and screaming in the background.
Yeah, the grinders are
Doors are slamming. People are walking in and out. There are probably 50 different conversations happening all at once. The barista is shouting someone's name over the sound of, I don't know, loud indie pop music.
It's the absolute definition of sensory overload.
It really is. It's chaotic. And logically, you'd think it's the absolute worst place to try and concentrate on a complex task.
I mean, on paper, it makes no sense to work there.
Right. Yet for millions of students, remote workers, and especially language learners all over the world, this specific flavor of chaos has become the ultimate place to get things done. It's basically our second home.
It really has. And today we're doing a deep dive into exactly why that is. We're going to decode the unspoken rules and the survival English of the modern coffee shop.
Yes, because if you are listening to this as an English learner, navigating this whole cafe ecosystem can honestly feel like a high-stakes exam.
Oh, for sure. It's incredibly stressful.
You're trying to figure out all these unwritten rules, like, where to sit, how to politely ask a stranger for a chair, and how to order your drink, all while trying not to sound like a clunky robotic textbook.
Which is the trap so many learners fall into simply because textbooks don't teach cafe survival skills.
Exactly. So today, our mission is to break down the natural, relaxed phrases you actually need to survive and thrive in this space.
We're looking at some fascinating notes and conversational transcripts about the mechanics of cafe culture today.
Yeah, the sources we're pulling from are fantastic.
They really are. We'll cover everything from the psychological reasons we actually seek out this loud noise to the very specific casual phrases native speakers use to navigate the crowds.
The goal here is to replace the anxiety of walking into a busy cafe with pure confidence. We want you to know exactly how the space operates and exactly how to speak within it while you're fueled by your coffee, or what we affectionately call survival juice.
Survival juice, I love that.
But, before we can even touch the language, we have to understand the environment you're walking into. Because a coffee shop isn't just a store where you exchange money for a latte.
No, it's a lot more complex than that.
If you look at the history, sociologists actually have a specific term for this kind of environment. They call it a third place.
Right. That concept of the third place comes from a sociologist named Ray Oldenburg.
Okay, break that down for us. What does that mean?
Well, the basic idea is that your first place is your home. That's where you rest, where you sleep.
Makes sense.
Then your second place is your office or your school, where the formal, structured work happens.
Right.
So the third place is the public space where people gather to socialize, exchange ideas, and just, exist in a community without the pressure of the office or the isolation of being at home.
And historically, coffee houses have always served as these third places.
Absolutely. Back in the 17th century in England, they were actually called penny universities.
Penny universities. Wow.
Yeah, because you paid a penny for a coffee, and you could just sit there for hours listening to writers, politicians, and philosophers debate the news of the day. You were getting an education for the price of a cup of coffee.
That is so cool. So they've always been these hybrid spaces, like half public square, half private desk.
Exactly. But today, because of laptops and remote work and Wi-Fi, that hybrid nature has created a highly competitive ecosystem.
Highly competitive is the perfect way to describe it.
It is. It's a space with very limited resources. And if you're going to spend hours there studying English or finishing a big project, you really have to know how to compete for those resources.
Which brings us to the very first moment you walk through the door of the cafe. I mean, think about it. You aren't looking at the menu, are you?
Definitely not.
You aren't checking out the pastries in the glass case.
Yeah.
The very first thing you do is scan the floorboards and the walls.
You're hunting.
You are. You're hunting for the absolute holy grail of the modern third place, which is the power source.
The wall outlet. Or, depending on where you are in the English-speaking world, the socket.
Okay, let's actually pause on those two words for a second, because for a language learner, knowing the difference between an outlet and a socket is pretty crucial.
It's a very common point of confusion.
Yeah, because in North America, I'm almost exclusively looking for an outlet. I rarely say socket.
Right, and if you're in the UK or Australia or New Zealand, you're primarily looking for a socket.
So why the difference?
Well, the linguistics here are actually quite literal if you look at their historical origins. The word outlet comes from the idea of letting something out.
Like an exit point.
Precisely. In this case, it's the physical point on the wall where electrical current is literally let out of the building's power grid and into your device.
Well, that makes total sense. American English is focusing on the function, the letting out of power.
Exactly. Now, socket, on the other hand, comes from an old Anglo-Norman word describing a small hollow piece or a physical cavity.
Like an eye socket.
Yes, exactly like an eye socket. So the British term focuses on the physical shape, the actual hole in the wall that you plug your charger into.
So American English looks at what the thing does, and British English looks at what the thing is.
That's a great way to summarize it. But functionally, both refer to the exact same square piece of plastic on the wall.
And finding that little square piece of plastic honestly feels like a competitive sport sometimes.
Oh, it's survival of the fittest.
It really is, because our modern productivity is entirely tethered to a lithium-ion battery. If your laptop dies, your study session is officially over. You have to go home.
The outlet essentially represents time. Finding one is your permission to stay in the space.
I have to tell you about this experience I had last week. I walked into this incredibly trendy, packed cafe downtown.
Oh no, trendy cafes are the hardest.
The hardest. And I had this massive deadline for a project. And I looked down at my laptop, and I'm sitting at exactly 9% battery.
You were in the pure danger zone.
Pure danger zone. So I'm scanning the room, my heart is kind of racing, and I spot it. One single empty table in the far corner, and shining right below it on the baseboard is an outlet.
A miracle.
But as I'm walking toward it, someone else walks in from the side door.
Oh, the rival appears.
Yes, and we make eye contact. And I see he's holding a laptop, too.
The silent showdown.
It was. We both knew exactly what the other person was hunting for.
So what happened?
It was ridiculous, honestly.
Yeah.
We're two grown adults, power walking across a coffee shop, trying to look totally casual while secretly racing to see who can throw a jacket over a wooden chair first, just to claim this tiny electrical port on the wall.
Let me guess, you won.
I won, by the way. My jacket hit the chair a split second before he got there, but I felt ridiculous.
That physical comedy, though, it highlights a very real tension in cafe culture.
Right, because once you claim that space, once the jacket is on the chair, you're expected to follow a strict unspoken etiquette.
Yes. You've essentially just claimed real estate in a for-profit business.
And you can't just occupy a small business's real estate for 6 hours for free.
No, you really can't. And this is important for English learners to know because in some cultures, a cafe is just a place you visit for 10 minutes.
Yeah, like in Italy. Right, you drink an espresso, standing at a counter, you chat with the barista for a minute, you leave.
Exactly. The idea of bringing a laptop and setting up camp at a table for half a day is confusing to a lot of people outside of North America and the UK.
So what is the unwritten rule here?
If you're going to treat a public cafe as your private office, you have to pay rent. The widely accepted rule of thumb in North American and British cafe culture is that you need to purchase something every hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay, so you can't just buy one tiny $2 cookie at 9 in the morning and drink free tap water until 4 in the afternoon.
Definitely not. If you do that, you're actively costing the business money by taking up a seat where paying customers could be sitting.
It's a mutual relationship.
It is. They provide the workspace, the electricity, the Wi-Fi, and the ambiance. You provide regular, sustained business.
But it doesn't have to be a massive meal every 2 hours, right?
Oh, no. Buying another tea, a sparkling water, or just a small pastry is enough to signal to the staff that you respect the space and the business.
Okay, but let's push back on the reality of this entire setup for a second.
Sure, let's look at it.
We've established that finding a seat is a high-stress, cutthroat competition.
Yeah.
You're practically throwing jackets at chairs.
Right.
We know you have to keep spending money every 2 hours to justify your existence there.
Yes.
And on top of that, it is unbelievably loud. I was trying to read a really dense article in a cafe last week, and my noise-canceling headphones died.
Oh, that's the worst.
Suddenly, I'm forced to listen to the couple sitting 3 feet away from me, and they were having a full, highly dramatic relationship breakup over iced lattes.
Oh, wow. The cafe breakup. A classic hazard.
I learned everything about a guy named Chad and his inability to commit to this poor woman.
Well, Chad sounds terrible.
He was, but I couldn't read a single word of my article. So if it's so competitive, and it's expensive, and you risk getting dragged into someone's personal drama when your headphones die, why do we bother?
It's a very fair question.
Why not just stay in our quiet homes where the coffee is cheap and the outlets are literally always available?
Logically, staying home makes more sense. But it all comes down to a fascinating psychological phenomenon called body doubling.
Body doubling. Okay, what is that?
Well, human brains don't always operate on pure logic. When you're home alone, working or studying, there's zero social accountability.
That's true. If I decide to close my textbook and just stare at the ceiling for an hour, no one is going to judge me.
Exactly. The temptation of the couch or turning on the TV is just too strong.
So strong.
But when you enter a coffee shop, you're stepping into a room full of strangers who are actively engaged in tasks. You look to your left, someone is typing furiously on a laptop. You look to your right, someone is highlighting a thick medical textbook.
So you're surrounded by productivity.
Right. And even though these people have absolutely no idea who you are and they really don't care what you're doing, your brain's mirror neurons start firing.
Mirror neuron?
Yeah, they're a specific type of brain cell that responds equally when we perform an action and when we witness someone else perform the exact same action.
Oh, is that why yawning is contagious?
Yes, it's the exact same mechanism. In a cafe setting, focus becomes contagious. The physical presence of other people working generates a kind of silent peer pressure. You subconsciously borrow their momentum.
It's like positive social pressure. You feel accountable to the room, even though the room isn't looking at you.
It's social accountability without social obligation. You get all the benefits of feeling like you're part of a working group, but you don't actually have to talk to anyone or collaborate.
That's actually brilliant.
It is. That's why body doubling is heavily recommended by psychologists for people with ADHD or anyone struggling with procrastination. That shared productive energy is incredibly powerful.
And it's exactly why we tolerate the noise, the crowds, the expense, and the hunt for the outlet.
Exactly. The psychological benefit outweighs all those physical inconveniences.
Okay, so we've walked into the cafe. We understand the unwritten rules. We've thrown our jacket on the chair to claim the outlet, and we're ready to use the energy of the room to get some work done.
The stage is set.
Now, how do we actually talk about what we're doing? Because if you're an English learner, you need the specific vocabulary native speakers use to describe this whole routine.
It's time to build the lexicon of the long haul, the survival vocabulary. And the fascinating thing about these phrases is how heavily they rely on metaphors.
Let's start with the phrase people use the very moment they find that perfect table with the outlet. You don't just sit down. You camp out.
Yes, to camp out. It's a brilliant example of taking language from one completely different context and repurposing it.
Because traditionally, camping involves, packing a tent, driving into the wilderness, building a fire, and sleeping outside.
Right, it's a survival activity in nature.
But in a cafe, there are no tents, there are no bears. So why are we camping?
Because the underlying concept of camping is claiming a temporary territory and setting up a base. When you say you're going to camp out at a coffee shop, you're signaling that this isn't a quick 10-minute visit.
You're not just drinking an espresso and leaving.
Well, you're unpacking your bag, you're arranging your laptop, extending your charging cable, organizing your highlighters, and placing your coffee cup in the absolute perfect spot on the table. You're building a little fortress of productivity.
It's the physical act of spreading out. Like if I just have my phone in my hand and I'm sitting there, I'm not camping out.
Not at all.
But the minute my charger hits the outlet and my notebooks cover the entire table, I have established my campsite.
Exactly. You might text a friend and say, hey, I've got a massive English paper due tomorrow, so I'm planning to camp out at the cafe until they close.
That instantly communicates your physical setup and your intention to stay put for a really long duration.
Yes, it paints a very clear picture.
Okay, so we've camped out. Now, we need to talk about why we came here in the first place, instead of just staying at home. And the phrase you'll hear constantly from native speakers is that someone just needed a change of scenery.
A change of scenery. This ties right back into the psychology of focus we were discussing earlier.
How so?
Well, it literally means moving your body so your eyes have a different landscape to process.
Because if you work in a tiny dorm room or a small home office, you are literally staring at the exact same four walls, the exact same lighting, and the same furniture for 10 hours a day.
And the human brain habituates to that environment very, very quickly.
Habituation.
Yes, habituation means your brain gets so used to the surroundings that it just stops paying attention to them. It goes on autopilot, becomes understimulated. Visually and mentally, you just hit a wall.
You feel sluggish, bored, or totally uninspired.
Exactly.
It's that feeling where you read the exact same sentence in a textbook 5 times in a row, and none of the words actually enter your brain.
We've all been there. Your spatial memory is essentially asleep. So, a change of scenery acts as a neurological reset button.
Oh, I like that. A reset button.
When you pack up your laptop, step outside, breathe in the cold air, walk down the street, and enter a cafe with completely different lighting, the smell of roasted coffee, and strangers walking around, your brain's novelty receptors light up.
It triggers a tiny hit of dopamine just from being in a brand new physical space.
Exactly. Moving to a new location tricks your brain into thinking it's starting a brand new task. That's why a change of scenery works like magic for things like writer's block.
Because the problem wasn't your brain, the problem was your static environment.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're camped out, we've had our change of scenery, our brain is awake and stimulated. Now it's time to actually do the hard work. We need to get in the zone.
To get in the zone. This is one of my favorite phrases because it has completely migrated from the world of professional sports into everyday office and study culture.
You know, when I hear getting in the zone, I picture an Olympic swimmer standing by the edge of the pool, shaking out their muscles, wearing giant headphones, and visualizing the gold medal race.
It sounds very intense.
It sounds super physical. How does that apply to, like, answering a bunch of mundane emails or studying English grammar?
It applies perfectly because both require a specific state of psychological flow.
Flow state.
Right. The concept of flow, or being in the zone, was popularized by the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. It describes a state of total, unbroken immersion in an activity.
Where you lose track of time.
Yes. In sports, it's when an athlete stops thinking about their mechanics and just performs instinctively. In a cafe, getting in the zone means achieving a level of concentration where the chaotic environment around you entirely fades away.
The espresso machine disappears. Chad's breakup disappears.
Yeah.
It's just you and the laptop screen.
Exactly. And people usually have specific rituals to trigger this state.
Like what?
Well, just like the Olympic swimmer putting on headphones before a race, a student might put on their noise-canceling headphones, turn on a specific playlist of lo-fi hip-hop or classical music, and pull up their document.
Telling a friend, okay, I need to get in the zone, is basically a declaration.
It is. It means playtime is over, small talk is finished, and deep work is beginning right now.
We're locking in. Okay, so we've been in the zone for 3 hours. The essay is finally written. The emails are sent. It's time to leave. But native speakers don't usually just say, I'm going to leave now.
No, they don't.
They use our final survival phrase, to pack up.
To pack up. This mirrors our very first phrase, to camp out.
Ah, right. Because if you spend 10 minutes setting up a campsite, you can't just stand up and walk out the door when you're done.
No, you'd leave all your electronics and books all over the table.
That'd be bad.
Very bad. Packing up describes the physical ritual of dismantling your workspace. It's wrapping the charging cables, closing the tabs on your browser, sliding the laptop into its sleeve, stacking the notebooks, and putting everything back into your bag.
It's the cool-down stretch after the workout.
It really is. If the barista announces the cafe is closing in 15 minutes, you say to your study partner, all right, I'm going to save this file and start packing up.
It communicates the entire process of leaving, not just the single action of walking out the door.
Exactly.
So we have the vocabulary to describe our own actions. But here is the critical part for anyone learning English. Having the words to describe your own routine is easy because you're just talking to yourself or a friend.
Right, there's no pressure there.
The real challenge, the moment that causes genuine anxiety, is when you have to interact with strangers.
The social interactions, the test at the counter.
Exactly. This brings us to the pragmatics of politeness. And pragmatics is basically the study of how context influences the way we interpret meaning.
Right. Yes. If you translate a request directly from your native language, or if you use strict, grammatically perfect textbook English, you can easily sound incredibly rude without meaning to.
Which is terrifying for a learner.
It is, because textbook English is designed to teach you the most efficient way to communicate a literal fact. But human conversation, especially in a shared third place, is rarely about efficiency.
What is it about, then?
It's about social grace. It's about navigating shared space without causing friction.
Okay, let's break down 3 specific high-stress scenarios that happen in a cafe and contrast the clunky textbook English with the natural, smooth survival English.
Let's do it.
Scenario 1. You sit down and you need to connect to the internet.
The most essential task for the modern worker.
The clunky way to ask the barista for the password is a direct command. A learner might walk up and say, "Give me your Wi-Fi password."
Oof, yeah.
Or if they try to be hyper-formal to sound polite, they might say, "What is the password for the internet?"
Both of those are going to cause a slight negative reaction from the barista.
Why? Let's start with "give me." Even if you put the word "please" at the end of it, "Give me your Wi-Fi password, please." It sounds demanding, right?
It really does. Starting a sentence with "give me" sounds like a demand.
It honestly sounds like a stick-up, like "Give me your wallet, give me the Wi-Fi."
It does. It creates a heavy obligation. It tells the other person they must immediately stop whatever they are doing and present something to you.
Okay, what about the hyper-formal option? What is the password for the internet? That's grammatically flawless.
It is flawless, but it's stiff. It sounds like an interrogation. It lacks warmth.
So how do locals actually ask?
The smoothest, most common phrase you'll hear is, "Could I grab the Wi-Fi password?" Or, to be even softer, "Do you happen to know the Wi-Fi password?"
Okay, let's look closely at the verb grab here, because it seems to be doing a lot of heavy lifting. Could I grab the Wi-Fi password?
It's a very important word.
This is what fascinates me. You can't physically hold a password. It's just a sequence of letters and numbers on a sign. Why are English speakers obsessed with physically grabbing abstract concepts?
We really are.
We say, "Let's grab a coffee," or "Can I grab a minute of your time?" What is this word actually accomplishing in the conversation?
It's a pragmatic softening tool.
A softening tool.
Yes. While the word give places a heavy burden on the listener, the word grab shifts the action to the speaker. When you say, "Could I grab?" you're implying that the action is fast, low effort, and barely an inconvenience to the person you're talking to.
You're signaling, "I'm going to do the work here. I just need a tiny bit of help from you."
Exactly. It makes the request sound casual and frictionless.
Wow. The same goes for the second option, right? Do you happen to know?
Yes. By adding the phrase "happen to know," you introduce a layer of hypothetical distance.
You aren't demanding the information.
No, you're just gently inquiring if the information exists in their brain. It gives them an easy out if they don't know it, which makes the interaction feel incredibly safe and polite.
It's amazing how much social padding we put around simple requests just to keep the peace.
It's necessary in crowded spaces.
Okay, scenario 2. You're walking around the crowded cafe. You finally spot one empty wooden chair, but the chair is tucked under a table where a woman is already sitting, and she's working on her laptop.
This is a delicate operation.
You want to take the empty chair and drag it to your own table.
You're entering someone else's personal space.
The clunky textbook way to handle this is to point at the chair and simply state your desire. "I want this chair." Or, slightly better, asking a direct question about the physical object. "Is this chair empty?"
Okay, "I want this chair" completely ignores the social reality of the situation. It treats the environment like a furniture store.
Right, you're just announcing a desire to a stranger. It's a bit toddler-like.
It is.
And what's wrong with, "Is this chair empty?" That seems perfectly logical to me. If the chair is physically empty, I should be able to take it.
It's logical, yes, but it lacks social awareness. When you ask, "Is this chair empty?" your focus is entirely on the inanimate object.
You're ignoring the person sitting next to it.
Because the chair might be physically empty right now in this exact second, but her friend might be in the restroom or standing in line waiting for a latte.
That makes so much sense.
Exactly. The smooth, native way to navigate this is to focus on the people, not the furniture.
So what do you say?
You ask, "Is anyone sitting here?" Or, combining it with our favorite softening verb, you say, "Do you mind if I grab this chair?"
"Is anyone sitting here?" is such a brilliant shift in perspective. You're acknowledging her social circle.
Yes, you're asking about the invisible presence of another human being. It instantly shows respect for her space.
And, "Do you mind if I grab this chair?" asks for permission while simultaneously promising that the extraction of the chair will be quick and painless.
It's the ultimate polite maneuver.
Okay, scenario 3. The final hurdle at the counter. You're ordering your drink, and you want to communicate that you're not leaving. You want the nice, heavy ceramic mug, not the flimsy, disposable paper cup with the plastic lid.
A very practical, environmental, and honestly aesthetic choice.
But the clunky way to express this often involves massive over-explaining. A language learner might nervously say, "I will stay here for a very long time to study my books, so please give me a real cup."
The anxiety of the interaction causes the speaker to offer way too much context.
The barista doesn't need your life story.
They really don't. They don't need to know your schedule or what you're studying. A busy cafe line moves fast, and over-explaining disrupts the rhythm of the transaction. It creates awkwardness.
So how do we compress all that information into a natural phrase?
You rely on the universally understood opposite of to go or takeaway. You simply say, "For here, please."
For here.
Yes. Or if you want to sound a bit more conversational, you could say, "I'll be hanging out here for a bit, so I'll have it in a for here mug."
For here is the magic key. It's 2 words, and the barista instantly knows you need ceramic, you don't need a lid, and you'll be occupying a table.
It's incredibly efficient.
And I love the phrase hanging out for a bit. It completely removes the intensity of, I'm going to study for a very long time.
It keeps the interaction light. It signals that you're a relaxed, easygoing customer, even if you're secretly stressed about a looming deadline.
Okay, so we've covered the ecology of the space, we've mapped out the vocabulary, we've smoothed out the clunky English.
You have all the pieces.
Now, we need to see what this looks like in motion. Because the true test of fluency isn't just knowing a list of phrases, it's stacking them together in real time under pressure.
Let's run a simulation, a continuous dialogue that weaves everything we've talked about together.
Okay, imagine the scene. It's 10:00 a.m. on a Tuesday. The cafe is packed. The music is playing, the milk is steaming, the espresso grinders are buzzing. 2 friends, let's call them Person A and Person B, are meeting up to co-work.
Okay, setting the theme.
Person A got there early to secure a table. Person B just walked in, escaping a tiny claustrophobic apartment. Listen to how these phrases stack.
All right, so Person B walks in, looking relieved. "Wow, it's packed in here today."
Person A looks up from their screen and replies, "I know, right? I got here early so I could camp out and secure a good spot for us."
Right away, the fortress is established. Person A didn't just sit, they camped out.
Person B drops their heavy bag and says, "Thank goodness you did. Honestly, I really needed a change of scenery. I was going crazy working in my apartment all morning."
There's the psychological reset, the physical move to cure the habituation of the home office.
Then Person B looks at the extra chair at the table next to them and uses the perfect social awareness check. "Is anyone sitting here?"
Focusing on the people.
Person A nods. "Nope, that chair is all yours. Grab it."
Followed immediately by the low-friction invitation to grab the object.
But then battery panic sets in. Person B pulls out their laptop and says, "Wait, before I sit down, did you notice if there's an outlet nearby? My laptop is practically dead."
The hunt for the critical resource.
Person A smiles. "You're in luck. There's one right under the table on your side. Crisis averted."
Beautiful.
Person B sighs in relief. "Oh, amazing. Let me go order a coffee real quick. Do you happen to know the Wi-Fi password?"
The polite hypothetical inquiry. Avoiding the heavy obligation of a direct command like, "Give me."
Person A points to a sign. "Yeah, it's Coffee Bean 2024 with a capital C." Armed with the knowledge, Person B outlines their strategy.
"Awesome. I'm going to get an iced latte for here, and then I'm going to put my headphones on and really try to get in the zone. I have so many emails to reply to."
The clear communication of "for here," followed by the declaration of entering a flow state.
Person A agrees with the strategy. "Sounds like a plan. Let's grind for 2 hours, and then we can pack up and grab some lunch."
And finally, the timeline is set, ending with the ritual of packing up the campsite. It all flows so naturally.
It does. And looking at that entire interaction, there's a fascinating irony hiding in plain sight.
Was that? Think about everything we discussed at the start of this deep dive.
Yeah.
We described the cafe as a high-stress, cutthroat environment.
Right.
You're fighting for outlets, you're managing the noise, you're dealing with the pressure of buying drinks every 2 hours.
It's an inherently tense ecosystem.
But look at the language. The words they use to navigate this tense environment are the exact opposite.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Hang out, grab, camp out, do you happen to know? The language is incredibly relaxed, soft, and laid back. The words completely contradict the reality of the physical environment.
It's a brilliant observation, and it highlights a core function of pragmatics. The language basically acts as a verbal shock absorber.
A verbal shock absorber. I love that.
Think about it. If the environment is loud, crowded, and stressful, and you walk in using rigid, demanding, tense language, Give me a chair. Give me the Wi-Fi. I am staying here.
The collective stress level of the room skyrockets. You
That's the way.
create friction.
You become the problem. Exactly. By using hyper-casual, softened language, we are collectively lowering the tension. We're signaling to the barista and to the strangers around us, yes, we acknowledge this space is crowded and chaotic, but I am a relaxed person, and I'm not going to add to the stress.
The language smooths out the friction of the physical space.
It does.
We use relaxed language to intentionally calm the chaos around us. That makes so much sense. And it really highlights why mastering these specific casual phrases is so vital for an English learner.
It's not just about passing a grammar test. It's about participating in a shared cultural effort to keep a chaotic environment feeling friendly and safe.
You're learning how to be a good citizen of the third place.
Exactly.
Well, as we bring this deep dive to a close, let's take a quick look back at the journey we've been on. We started by exploring the physical and historical landscape of the coffee shop, our modern third place.
We unpacked the intense hunt for the wall outlet, the linguistic differences between an outlet and a socket, and the unwritten economic etiquette of paying rent by purchasing a drink every few hours.
Then we dove deep into the neuroscience of why we tolerate all the noise, learning how the mirror neurons involved in body doubling actually hijack our brains into focusing better when we're surrounded by working strangers.
From there, we built a survival vocabulary, moving from the wilderness origins of camping out to the sports psychology of getting in the zone and the neurological dopamine reset of a change of scenery.
And finally, we smoothed out clunky, demanding textbook English into the soft, frictionless language of the cafe. We replaced give me with could I grab. And we learned how to focus on the people around us instead of just the empty chairs.
We learned how to use language as a shock absorber.
To you, the listener, we hope this completely changes how you feel the next time you walk into an English-speaking cafe. You don't have to feel the anxiety of the social test anymore.
No. Armed with this understanding of the culture and these specific natural phrases, you can confidently march into your local coffee shop.
You can order your favorite survival juice in a real ceramic mug, politely grab an empty chair, claim your outlet, and camp out like an absolute pro.
You have all the tools to thrive in the ecosystem.
But before we let you go, there's a final, somewhat philosophical question hiding inside all of this that I really want you to think about.
Oh, this is a good one.
We spent this entire time dissecting the mechanics of how cafes function as our second homes. We pack up our most private, important work, our essays, our confidential business emails, our personal projects, and we willingly carry them into a loud, highly public space.
Right.
We sit shoulder to shoulder with total strangers. We listen to the intimate details of their messy breakups. And yet we rely on the silent physical presence of these complete strangers to help us find our own internal focus.
It's a deeply weird arrangement when you strip away the familiarity of it.
It really is. So the question to mull over is this. What does this desperate need for the cafe tell us about the modern human condition?
Think about it. In an age of high-speed home internet, where we have the technological ability to work perfectly alone, locked safely in our quiet, comfortable apartments, why are we so deeply desperate to go out and be alone together?
Why do we actively seek out the chaos? Just to sit next to people we're trying our absolute hardest to ignore. It's a profound thought to chew on the next time you're sitting at a tiny wooden table, sipping a latte, and watching the world go by. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. Keep practicing, keep listening, and we'll catch you next time.